All right, looks like we're live. Welcome on this Monday evening. Looks like August 28th, 2023. And it is now 9:42 p.m. Central Time, where I'm at. Welcome. Hope you all had a nice Monday. I did. I finished my trying to adjust this thing here. Adjust my holder here so I can put it in. Yeah, I finished my big project outside I was working on, and tied up some onions. I harvested about 30 or 40 pounds of onions yesterday. Dried them out on the sidewalk, washed them, dried them out. And I just learned how to hang the onions for the winter so they don't get rotten. They don't touch each other, they just hang on a string. And I'll show you guys when I get done. Actually, I'll show you. Here's my I'm working on here. I got I'll show you. They're all strung up on outside on the porch. So, but here's what I did not do yet. You see that? Oh no. This is a container of. This is about 20 pounds of onions right here. And you take them and you string them up. String them on a string. Anyway, I got a lot to go. It's a big container here. So, yeah, that's about 20 pounds right there. I got purple Vidalia. I've got yellow and a few white. I like the yellow. Oh, guys. Yeah, I got all my produce here on the ground next to me. I've been sitting here at my desk stringing them up, and today, and I've got I think 4 strings done right now, about 3 feet strings of hanging onions, and that is those, and that's my dog Sprout laying next to the onions. Yeah, that's Sprouty. Caleb's over there. Caleb, there's Caleb. Where are you, bud? Over there. Protecting the onions. I think he's protecting the onions. They just had their dinner. So we are chilling out here. Trying to get some tabs up here real quick. So we can look at Joseph's brothers sell him into Egypt. And there's 2 stories about that they have blended into one story. But if you look at it closely, it's that's why it's a little confusing, is because it's 2 stories blended together. So they were going to leave him in a pit. I mean, it almost looks like one story, the way they did it, which isn't bad. Oh, boy, I got... He's, got another one under my feet here. Another doggy. Let me get over here. I'm going to plug my phone in because last night my phone went dead. I had already gone an hour and a half, but I mean an hour and 10 minutes, I think. not an hour and a half. I think it was an hour and 10 minutes. Without it plugged in, I forgot it wasn't plugged in. It just died out of nowhere. I didn't even know it was gonna die. So anyway, abruptly ended the stream, which is fine. We're about done anyway. Having fun though. But yeah. So tonight I'm gonna make sure that don't happen. Plug it in. Actually, I'm at 88%, so it shouldn't. 88% is about as high as I've ever come on here. Usually it's 30-40%. I can plug it in and it'll last. Once it gets above, and once it gets below like 15%, you can't live stream because it just sucks the battery dry instantly, and you cannot charge it. So I don't know if you've ever streamed on a phone. It's very hard on the phone. It sucks the battery dry. So, all right, I think I got everything together. Let me get over here. Another beautiful day here in Minnesota. I don't think we got rain for the next 10 days. I looked. But just beautiful in the 70s. Actually got kind of hot today. It might have hit 80. That's hot for us. But it's August. It's to be expected. Sorry, I just bumped my dog and he just went. It's right under my feet. So I'm trying to be respectful of him, but all right. All right, I got everything ready. I was busy right before I came on here, so get things rolling. Joseph, brothers sell him into Egypt. Well, hi, D. Yeah, you're doing good. You're keeping an eye out on that hurricane, I know. Yeah, so I know, like I said, I watched somebody who lives in Mayo, Florida, and today he came on and did he usually live streams, and he did a live stream saying he's just going to the live stream before the storm. He live streamed it, and it was the skies were black. He was showing the skies were black, and I don't know, it wasn't windy or nothing. But he's getting ready. He's charging up all his stuff and gonna hunker down, bunker down, whatever it is, whatever the better one is, I guess. Hunker or bunker? I've heard both. That stealth camper guy, he says hunker down. He's actually got T-shirts and coffee mugs that say hunker down with an H. He's from Canada, though, eh? He's the one that lost his wife a few months ago. Very young lady, school teacher. Went to sleep and didn't wake up. Very sad. A young couple. He just hit 1 million subscribers. I think I did tell you guys about him. I really liked his stealth camps. And anyway, yeah. He always called his wife beautiful wife, and he's got crazy neighbor. And he goes stealth camping. And beautiful wife went to sleep one night and didn't wake up. And you know what was weird? Sunday night they had their 1 million. He popped champagne and they celebrated him and his wife celebrated the 1 million subscribers on his channel. And by the end of the week she was gone. Anyway, may she rest in peace. But very sad. I know what it's like to lose your spouse. It's very half a year's gone. I mean, it's very sad. I've been there. It might be a category 1 in South Carolina, but probably will be a tropical storm. Lots of rain, though. I'm sure my family and friends will be okay. They have lots of past. So are they in South Carolina where you used to live? That's last guy. Yeah, rest in peace to her. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, they're sitting at their kitchen table and popping champagne. She was shy. She was just not on camera hardly ever. I don't even know if he showed her. She was sitting right next to me. You could see her arm and stuff, and her laughing, and they having a good time. And I think he maybe showed her once. But I'm very excited. Their channel was doing so good, and yeah, later that week she's gone. By the next Sunday morning he woke up, she was gone. Yes, southern part of South Carolina. Well, we just hope they're safe. You know what? We're gonna hope. We're gonna hope and pray that it was like California. Remember they made a big thing like California is gonna get hit by some horrible hurricane, and it didn't happen. So I mean, it was, thank God it was very minor. So hopefully that happens. Enough people have been struck by horrible weather. Yep. Hard to be in populated cities when stuff like this happens. It's good to be out in the country. That's what it seems like. I think it's weather warfare, and I think it's aimed at this big city. So, isn't that crazy when that thing when the fires hit burned out Maui? First things the governor said, or somebody came on TV and said, "Well, don't worry, the government's going to figure out something to do with that land." Really? No, they already had something they're going to do with that land, in my humble opinion. Anyway, and those poor people. So anyway, people are hurricane grocery shopping. Yeah, 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 yep. Go get your supplies. It's nice if you already have a little bit of food put away just in case. You know, some canned stuff is really good. Canned or in a can. Either way, can your own stuff or buy it. Smart to do that now. Oh yeah. Yeah. Remember Thomas, brother Thomas, he lives in Texas, and they had that big, remember they had that big hurricane a couple years ago? Well, um, he said, he called me on the phone that day. He said he just went to the store. Hurricane's like ready to hit, and people are freaking out, panicking, and he's like outside of Houston. Remember that Houston? Anyway, he said the stores were crazy. People were just like, yeah, I remember that. He said people were pushing I think he came on here and told us the story, but he told me on the phone too. But he said people were just going crazy and like grabbing anything, just like grabbing stuff and just put it in their cart in a panic. He said all the water was gone. There's nothing but empty pallets on the ground where the water used to be. Gone. He said one guy grabbed 2 frozen pizzas and a 12-pack of beer. I don't know how he's gonna cook the pizza, but anyway, just curl it like a fold in half like a taco and just eat it when you're hungry enough, right? Anyway, yeah, he said it was like that was too late to shop. It was too late to shop. Everything was gone. I mean, liquor stores were going crazy too. You know, they were selling out good stuff too. Yeah, pizza and beer. He got 2 pizzas and a 12-pack of beer for the hurricane. You know what? He might have been one happy camper. Who knows? He might have been just fine. You know, but it is good to have stuff put away if you can afford it. I stocked up tons of stuff, and then a couple years later, it's all expired. You throw it out. It's kind of a waste. I don't just nobody should have to. People always compare it to Joseph. How Joseph in Egypt. Oh, he prepared. He prepped. Joseph was in the government. He was second in charge of the country, so he's like high-ranking government official. Yeah, he's got warehouses. Yeah, he's got thousands of people. Yeah, or millions or whatever working for him. Yeah, they can store warehouses full of grain. We're not the government. We're not. Anyway, well, most of us, right? No, just have some stuff put away and have some way to heat it up, and I don't know, a way to maybe stay cool and a way to stay warm. It depends where you live. because up here we don't have hurricanes. Never. Of course, we would never have a hurricane, but we have power outages and stuff like that. Crap happens. I mean, although I've been up here 5 years and almost 5 years, and power went out once for maybe like 3 or 4 hours. Right before dark, it came on. I actually ran up into town because I wanted to see how far the power outage was. Because people were driving around saying, "You got power, you got power." I'm like, nope. I have a generator. And my generator runs on propane or gasoline. It's a dual fuel. Never had to use it yet. It's ready to go, but never had to use it. Just, yeah, it goes out. But anyway, when I went into town, when I came back, it was so weird. There's a power substation up the road, like 3, 4, 5 miles maybe. And it was a mom, a dad, and a kid were up there trying to fix it. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, we're way up north. But yeah, it was the dad, the husband, the wife, and like, I don't know, teenage kid. And they were up there working on it. And I'm like, wow, that family is working on that big, those big things you drive by and there's a fence around and it's a giant substation. You never want to live near one of those. If you notice, the houses are abandoned around there, or usually it doesn't turn out good. It's called a magnetic field, and it produces radiation. Anyway, so we're going to move on here. But I just hope everybody well, and I hope nobody has loss of life or property down there in that hurricane. But yes, they've been through hurricanes. You're right. They know pretty much what they're doing down there. And hopefully they're all prepared. I mean, if you got weeks worth of food put away, it's always enough. Nobody needs warehouses full of crap. All right, so we're going to go over the story of Joseph and his brothers selling him into Egypt because they're jealous because he's the dad's favorite. My question is always, if you got like 12 sons, why would you favor one so above all the rest in the first place? Anyway, that's always going to end up in trouble, and it did. That's never good when you have a bunch of kids, but you spoil one in front of the rest. Yeah, a little bit of resentment for that spoiled child, and that was Joseph and his beautiful, amazing colored dream coat. And that's what it was, this amazing coat. And here, I'll show the picture. This is him being stripped of his beautiful coat on the ground, amazing colored dream coat, and he is being sold into slavery in Egypt, where he will actually become second in charge of Egypt, right below the Pharaoh. Pharaoh is number 1, he was number 2, and so yeah. Anyway, he was 17 years old when this happened, and I think what was about maybe another 17 years before he was in charge of Egypt. Supposedly, allegedly, he saved the whole country from famine, dying from famine, and his whole family. And he had, actually, yeah, the brothers couldn't stand up. He was the youngest, and I think this was before Benjamin was born, his younger brother. His full younger brother, because the other ones all have different moms, or they have different moms. Not all. But he was the only one. Anyway, you guys probably know the story. So, we're going to get into the doublet. This is a story that's told twice, but it is fused into one. It's so told by 2 different sources, and you can find it in the Bible Brisket. It's a site about doublets, where it tells doublets in the Hebrew Bible. We are going over, and here's the sources that you're going to see. There are four um, sources that contribute to these stories in the Old Testament. You've got the J source, the Yahweh source. You got the Elohist source, Elohim. D, Deuteronomy, and P, priestly. Of course, these two came first, and I think it was southern and northern kingdoms. And then the Deuteronomy and priestly source came later, and like a couple hundred years later. We've gone over the timeline many times. And then there is a redacted source, and when the redacted comes along, it's like a third party trying to melt two stories together that definitely can barely go together. So somebody's gonna come in and like say stuff to make it look like one story. Anyway, that is the goal. So here's the list of doublets, and there's triplets too. Some of these have 3 different sources, 3 of these sources up there. And as you can see, there's 31 of them, I think. Yep, 31. This goes all the way to Numbers, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Exodus, Genesis. Anyway, so tonight we're going to go over this doublet right here. It is right here. Bam. Joseph sold into Egypt. And it looks like it's one story, but if you look closer, it is 2 stories melted into one. So Joseph sold into Egypt. All right. And the first source is the J source, the Yahweh source. And I got to write down which one's the northern, which one's the southern kingdom. I get them mixed up. Anyway, so this part right here is going to be one source contributed to this part. That's 37, 2, 5, 11, 19, 20, 23. So all these verses. And then you have the Elohim source, which is also peppered. So some of these verses came from one source, some came from another source. So let's go look at the story. It's in Genesis 37. I particularly like the Blue Letter Bible version for many reasons, but I started using this Blue Letter because it was the only one. I was doing live streams off my laptop, and it was the only site that didn't make my laptop buffer with all their commercials playing and whatever else. Anyway, so we're going to Joseph. There's the dreams where he dreams basically kind of basically he's telling the brothers they're gonna be bowing down to him someday. And that was almost like the last straw. Because anyway, they can't stand him already. He's the youngest son. He's the dad's first child with the woman that he really loves. And the youngest, and spoiled rotten. And no secret to the family that this is his favorite. Joseph's his favorite. Actually, I'm going to read the whole story. Why not? It's not very long. We are going to... So when we get down here, this is where the Joseph gets sold into slavery, and that's going to be verse 21 to 27. So it's going to be like from here, here, so it'll be all this right there. So that's where Joseph gets sold into slavery. But we'll read the story that leads up to it. I think it's kind of fun. Well, hey, Grace, how you doing tonight? Greetings and salutations to you too. Hope you had a wonderful day, a wonderful Monday in Minnesota. Beautiful weather here. Got a little warm. The dogs had to come a couple times. I was working outside. And I think it hit 80, 82 or something, which feels warm because it's been in the 60s and 70s. Been the 40s at night. We got leaves changing already. And to think about it, that's only 10 degrees above freezing. In August, we're in the 40s at night. What the heck? Anyway, it's good sleeping weather, though. I have my windows open. Yeah, with the fan on when it's in the 40s. I like that. All right. All right, so good to see you tonight, Grace. Hope all is well. So we're gonna read the story that leads up to him being sold into Egypt by his brothers, his jealous brothers, and they have every right to be jealous. You know, in my opinion, what the heck, favoring one kid. Anyway, so all right, when we get to the part where he's sold, and remember, oh boy. Anyway, we'll get that till we get to it. All right. So Joseph's dreams. I don't know if you guys can see the writing. Is it big enough? I could maybe a little bigger. There you go. Bam. If it gets too big, then it goes off the page and it don't fit. There it is. Yeah, that might be a little better. All right. So Joseph's dreams. And this is kind of like the last straw where they've had it with him. This dream. They call him Dreamer of Dreams. I guess that was like a slap in the face back then. Oh, let's dump my screen over. All right. So here we are in Genesis 37. This is the story of Joseph getting sold by his brothers. All right. Joseph's dreams. Jacob lived in the land of his father's sojournings in the land of Canaan. Huh. Remember Canaan? All right. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. He was a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report of them to their father. Now, Israel loved Joseph, which is Jacob, loved Joseph more than any other of his sons because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a robe of many colors. In the Septuagint Vulgate, it says the meaning of the Hebrew is uncertain. A robe with long sleeves, maybe. But anyway, it was a special fancy robe. Many colors, coat of many colors, or coat with long sleeves, whatever. Special robe, coat, whatever. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peacefully to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hear this dream that I've dreamed. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold," oops. Behold, sorry. I don't know what just happened. Something hit it. Something hit that. All right. Go back. All right. Hear this dream that I have dreamed. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright. And behold, your sheaves gathered it around it and bowed down to my sheaf. His brothers said to him, "Are you indeed to reign over us? Or are you indeed to rule over us?" So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, "Behold, I dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, 11 stars were bowing down to me." But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you?" And his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the saying in mind. Right now, Joseph is sold by his brothers. And let me see, at 21 is when they start blending the two stories. So here we are in 12, verse 12. Now his brothers went to pasture their father's flock near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, are not your brothers pasturing the flock at Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. And he said to you, here I am. Now, what I've heard from scholars talking about this is that what the heck was Jacob thinking? Because Shechem was a rough place. And why would you send a 17-year-old boy to Shechem on his own? Anyway, so he said to him, go now, see if it is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring me word. So he sent him from the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a man found him wandering in the fields. And the man asked him, what are you seeking? Now, he's wandering in the fields. Now, this kind of shows you, like, what the heck was the dad thinking, sending this kid, 17-year-old boy out here, and now he's wandering in the fields? Anyway, I am seeking my brothers, he said. Tell me, please, where are they pasturing the flock? And the man said, they have gone away, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. Maybe that was the bad place. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dothan. Yeah, maybe it was Dothan. One of these places was a bad place, and I can't remember. Now, if the dad sent him to Shechem, maybe Shechem wasn't that bad, but one of these places was like really a rough place for anybody to be. People got robbed, beaten, and everything else. They saw him from afar, and before he came near to them, they conspired against him to kill him. They said to one another, here comes this dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits or the cisterns. Then we will say that a fierce animal has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams. Let's see if see if we have to bow down to him then. But when Reuben heard it, now you guys, Reuben is the oldest. In case anybody doesn't know, Reuben is the oldest. And so he is ultimately like in charge of all the brothers back then. That's how it was. But when Reuben heard it, he rescued him out of their hands, saying, let us not take his life. Oh, by the way, this is when the two stories start to merge. So 21 and 22, this, here, I got to double check here. 19, 20, 27, 28. All right. So it's pieced up into the sources. So. But when Reuben heard it, he rescued him out of their hands, saying, let us not take his life. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood. Throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him, that he might rescue him out of their hand to restore him to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the robe of many colors that he wore. And they took him and threw him into a pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. An empty cistern. Then they sat down to eat. And looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels bearing gum, balm, and myrrh on their way to carry it down to Egypt. They're headed to Egypt. Then Judah said to his brothers, what profit is it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Now remember, this is where the second story comes in. Oops, the first story was the J source, the Yahweh source, which would be either the northern or southern kingdom. And now here's the other kingdom story. It starts at 26. Because remember, Reuben said, Just throw him down there, and whatever happens to him, happens to him. And but here's the other story that they're blending together with the first one. Then Judah said to his brothers, now this is Judah. Yeah, that Judah. What profit it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? So now Judah wants to make money off him. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our own flesh, and his brothers listen to him. Which is funny because, as you can see, Judah is not the oldest brother. The oldest brother is Reuben. So I don't know, if all of a sudden they're listening to Judah instead of Reuben. And Judah wants to make money off him. Surprise, surprise. Then Midianite traders passed by, and they drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. The shekel is 11 grams of silver. They took Joseph out of Egypt. Now wait right there. This is what I do. Time out, time out. What now? Did you catch what just happened? Did you see what just happened there? Did you see what happened? A minute ago, let's go back to 3 things just happened here. Starting in, what is it? 21. Starting in 21, you got Reuben. Well, okay, and starting at 21, they said, all the brothers, one to another, all the brothers were saying, let's kill him, this dreamer of dreams. Let's see how good his dreams turn out then. They're so jealous and they hate him. Let's just kill him. But then Reuben steps in, the oldest, because, well, for one thing, if they go home without his brothers, Reuben's probably going to be the first one to catch it. He's the oldest. He's in charge. But Reuben says, no, don't kill him. Just throw him down the dry well, the cistern, whatever. And just whatever happens to him, happens to him. The next thing, we got Judah saying, nah, let's not kill him, because after all, he is our brother, right? He's our own flesh, right? He is our own flesh. But let's sell him, and that way we don't have to kill our own brother. That way, and remember, these are the heads of the tribes of Israel doing this to their own brother. Anyway, so then Judah says, wait, I got a better plan. Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites, okay? Because after all, he's our brother, and we really shouldn't kill him. And okay. So then the Midianite traders passed by. They brought Joseph up out of the pit, and the Midianite traders, sold him to the Ishmaelites for 11 grams of silver. They took Joseph out of Egypt. So wait a minute. Who just sold? Yeah, the cash register. Ka-ching. So who just made the sale? It wasn't even the brothers. It's the Midianite traders passed by. They saw Joseph in the well or heard him yelling or whatever. But they're the ones who brought Joseph out of the pit, and they're the ones that sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. So when people say that the brothers sold him into Egypt, nah, the brothers were like the 3 stooges. They couldn't get their plan straight. While they're trying to figure out their plan, the Midianite traders passed by, and they pulled them up and sold them to the Ishmaelites, who were headed into Egypt. And that way he's out of the country. Nobody's ever going to know what happened to him. They don't have records of these people. They're just, in fact, the Old Testament doesn't even consider slaves as humans. They'll say, now, slaves, you better bow down to your master, fear your human master. They call it your human master. So you better fear your human master. So slaves aren't even fully human. They're not even seen as fully human. They're told to obey their human masters and be afraid of their human masters and do what they say. They're human masters. And as a matter of fact, so a women's slave and a male slave. You have a male slave and a women's slave. The women's slave, I think, is a half price as a male slave. So So the female slaves aren't humans either. In fact, they're half price humans, half humans. They're not humans. Anyway, they're not even considered fully human. So that's how terrible it is. I mean, this is human trafficking. You're right. They're just property. That's why through the whole Bible, Old and New Testament, even in the New Testament, what do they say every time there's people gathered? Let's see. In the Old Testament, it's okay. 1 million people came out of 500,000 men came out of Egypt with their wives and their cattle and their children and their animals. So, in fact, usually wives or their women are usually mentioned after the house and around the time of the cattle. So, anyway, so there you go. They did the swamperoo. So they kind of see almost like if you just read this over, you might not really catch this the first whole bunch of times until somebody points it out. Anyway, so we're going to keep going. So the Midianite traders passed by. They drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took Joseph to Egypt. They're the ones that sold him. When Reuben returned to the pit, now here we're back to the Elohim story. Remember up here in 21, you had Reuben calling the shots. Then you had Judah calling the shots. Now we're back to Reuben. Okay, so now we're picking up in the Yahweh source, the J source, and now this is part of their story again, the Yahweh source story. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not in the pit, he tore his clothes and returned to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone, and where shall I go?" Yeah, because he's in trouble. Then they took Joseph's robe and slaughtered a goat and dipped the robe in the blood. And they sent the robe of many colors and brought it to their father and said, This we found. Please identify whether this is your son's robe or not. And he identified it and said, "It is my son's robe. A fierce animal has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt torn to pieces." Oops. And then Jacob tore his garments and put his sackcloth on his loins and mourned his son for many days. Actually, it's never really the same. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted and said, "No, I shall go down to Sheol to my son, mourning." Thus his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold him to Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard. And you know what's kind of weird and kind of creepy about this is they keep mentioning how good looking he was. 17-year-old good looking, sold to Potiphar, who's, anyway. So there you go. There are two stories that are meshed into one. I think it's kind of cool. Because you can read that 100 times, you'll never really notice that there's two stories there. And you never notice the switcheroo that, you know what? Wait a minute, the brothers never even sold them. But wait a minute, why did Judah say sell him? Because remember, you could even make it into one story. Like, okay, Reuben said one thing, and then Judah said something else, and then he leaves. I don't know where he went, but then when he came back, they carried out the plan, but they didn't carry out the plan because they didn't even get to sell him. Somebody else pulled him out of the well and sold him. So where was everybody when Joseph was done? Okay, so if Joseph's in the well unattended to where people can just go by, hear him, and pull him out and sell him, where is everybody? Where's Reuben? Where's Judah? Where's all these brothers? How come they didn't know Joseph got pulled out of the well and sold anyway? So anyway, I think that they did a pretty good job kind of blending the stories together. You got the northern and the southern kingdoms telling their sides of the stories, and they didn't pick one or two one or the other story. They blended the two stories into one story. So if you read it and over and don't really pay attention, you might not even notice. But we'll go one more time. Look at the sources. Joseph sold into Egypt. You had the Yahweh source. So see, it's that 37, 2, 3, 5, 3, 11, 19, all the way up to here. Then you have the J source filling in. But then at the end of the story, in verses, so he's there, then it's that story, then we're back to this story. So it starts out J source, then it goes the Yahweh source, then it goes to Elohim source, and then it goes back to the J source. So you got one person telling the story, then another person, and then the first person finishes the story. So anyway, so hopefully that isn't confusing. Where are we at here? There you go. And some people think that there are parallels, and some people will compare this to Jesus being sold by Judas Iscariot for 30 pieces, 30 shekels of silver, instead of he got 20 pieces of silver. He was sold for 20 pieces of silver, and Jesus was sold by Judas Iscariot for 30 pieces of silver, because there's inflation, 2,000 years or whatever. Anyway, so people put parallels to that. I mean, a lot of parallels. The New Testament to the Old, and whether it's a good thing or not. Anyway, so yes, ka-ching. Judah is thinking, how can we make money? And really, how can you make money? And I think this is kind of interesting, because they were always about trying to make money. Well, I can't say they were always about making money, but they were about making money at many points, and not in a good way. This is not a good way to make money, is it? So your brother, you're supposed to be the patriarch of the, I don't know, the whole country. And your sons are selling the littlest into slavery, or actually trying to kill them. And what is the I gotta unplug this 100%. And what is the dad? Man, if you got 12 kids and you got the littlest one, you're telling everybody he's your favorite and spoiling him and not anybody else. Yeah, there's going to be jealousy and resentment. And if you got 2 kids, you don't bring home one piece of candy. You better bring home something for each of them. I had 2 kids, and no, you don't give one thing and not the other, because there's going to be a problem. Anyway, anything else? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up and say good night for Joseph. Yep. Joseph, and he was a prepper, but he worked for the government, and they have money to do that, and they have warehouses, and they have millions of people that will do the work. Anyway, yeah, can you play? Yeah, you can't. No, you can't play favorites. You can't even do it with dogs. And I got 3 dogs, and if I want to sneak some, if I want to do something for one of them, not the other 2, I have to do it in secret and hope he doesn't tell the other 2. No, they all have to, even the dogs. No, it's horrible. You never play favorites. Can't do it when you shouldn't do it when you have employees. You really shouldn't play favorites in front of them. You can't do it when you have children. You can't do it when you have dogs. I got 3 dogs. I cannot play favorites to one. Well, okay. Caleb gets babied. Caleb's my Joseph. Odd that nobody kept his cloak either. That would have likely never have been the case. Yeah. Yeah, they kept his. Yeah, yeah, that's funny. And there's a lot of things. So, and there's like contradictions in these stories and things that just like don't make no sense. It does help to explain it that you've got different sources pitching into these stories. So yeah, if me and two other people that I don't even know are pitching into a story, yeah, we might not be on the same page. Some things we'll get the same on, but and if you're going to take all three of our stories and try to make it into one story, it's not always seamless. You know what I mean? There's wrinkles in it. I mean, if they sold a human, they would have sold or kept his cloak too. Yeah. Well, I think the brothers were going to use the coat as an alibi. I think they pulled it off him. I think they pulled it off him because they were going to use the coat as an alibi, dip it in some blood, and say a animal ate him, and that worked. But and I think that they were so mad at that dang coat he had amongst everything else in his dreams that they're going to bow down to him someday. They had enough of him. And so, yeah, they're going to throw down the well, and he doesn't get his jacket to go with him. Throw him down there in his underwear. But the cloak was left behind. Well, no, the dad saw the bloody cloak, and he said, "Surely my son's torn to pieces. There's so much blood on this coat." Yeah, the dad ended up with the coat full of blood. Remember the goat blood or whatever? They slaughtered an animal, and yeah, yeah, at the end, yeah. Remember they said, and they sent the robe of many colors and brought it to their father and said, "This we found. Please identify it, whether it's your son's or not." And he identified and said, "It is my son's robe. A fierce animal must have devoured him." Yeah. Right. The cloak was left behind for them to dip in blood. Oh, yeah. 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 Yep. That was their alibi to make it look like an animal killed him. The coat was their excuse that it wasn't us. We just found the jacket laying there full of blood. We don't know what happened. And you really can't tell the difference between goat blood and human blood when it's on a jacket and you see it, whatever they killed. Yeah, it was a goat. They slaughtered a goat and dipped the robe in the blood. Yeah. Yeah, that was their alibi, the coat. Please identify whether it's your son's robe or not. And as you see, it's kind of weird because they didn't see him as a brother to see if it's your son's robe or not. Not see if it's our brothers. Of course they know it's the brothers. Remember, it was a one of a kind. Nobody else had one like that. Probably nobody in the country. Dad went all out on his robe. Of course they knew it was his. Yeah. To see here, to see whether it's your son's robe or not. Like they don't know. You don't know what your brother's robe is. And they said, see if it's your son's robe. He didn't say, see if it's our brother's. You know it's his robe. He just paraded around in it right in front of you. You forget? Anyway, they already knew it was his robe, but they're going to bring it to the dad and pretend they don't. Oh, we don't, is this his robe or not? We forgot what his robe looked like, but we found this bloody one here. Is that your son's or not? So, yep. Let me get back over in my chat here. Yeah, the cloak was left to dip in blood. Have you ever heard nurses or phlebotomists say they can smell the difference between blood types? I wonder if people can smell the difference between animal and human blood. I don't know. I was a phlebotomist. I was very good at it. Very good at drawing blood. Um, and when I smell them, when I smelled the blood, it smelled like iron to me. You know, yeah, I was very good at drawing blood. Even after once I went, the clinic I worked at actually paid me to go back to school for to get my radiography license so I could run the X-ray department, and they still called me when they had a hard blood draw. They'd page me out of X-ray to come draw blood. So I was very good, and I drew blood for 20 years. And I smell blood. I can smell iron in the blood. You ever smell metal, iron? I've drawn a lot of blood, but to me, blood smells like blood. To me, it smells like iron. And if you've ever gone in a house where there's been a bloody mess, like somebody murdered, or somebody killed or suicide, which I've done many times, um, the house smells like iron. It's got a, you can smell it when you walk in the door. Anyway, yeah, it smells like iron, like metal, iron. Yeah, I could have never smelled different blood types because you know what? You don't know what blood types you're drawing people's blood from. You know what I mean? I've never asked somebody what their blood type was when I was drawing their blood. And the only ones that really did, we didn't really do paternity testing because, blood testing because that's done. I think it's done in a certain place, and paternity. But yeah, so I didn't never knew what anybody's blood type was, but yeah, I could smell the iron in it. Anyway, I'm glad I don't do that anymore. I thought I liked it. I thought it was fun at the time, but I would never go back into the medical field again. Heck no. Anyway, all right. Yeah, me neither, right? I could, and oh man, am I really glad I wasn't in the medical uh, field during COVID. Imagine being a nurse during COVID. Oh heck no, no. I'm glad I was long gone by then. Nope, I went 20 years in the medical field. I had enough. I was burned out, man. It's true. People get burned out. How many? Anyway, you know, any occupation you probably get burned out of. I mean, you're not in any, but I'm sure every occupation has had people get burned out of it. Well, thank you. No way I couldn't do this charade. No, Can you imagine trying to bite your tongue and not say speak up? I'd have trouble doing that. Yeah, I'd probably get fired now if I went back. They'd be like, "What the heck? What did you just tell them?" The truth. Yeah. You're fired. Anyway. All right, well, thanks for coming in. Dee is keeping an eye on that hurricane because she has family and friends in South Carolina, so I'll keep them in your prayers. We hope nobody has any damage or loss of life. Yeah, I couldn't do it either. No way. Boy, yeah, never. Anyway, all right, love you guys. Thanks for coming in. Thank you for being here. If you're listening on the replay, thanks for listening on the replay. And anyway, I hope everybody has a good rest of the day, evening, whatever it may be. And hope you have a great day tomorrow. And I hope to see you tomorrow night. Anyway, love you guys. Bless you all. And good night. Let me try to get off of here real quick. Pull that out of the... Good night.